Okay, everyone, want to we'll get started here. Got our keynote speaker coming up. Very excited. I met Gary. This is Gary Fowler. He's the CEO and founder of GSD Venture Studios. Stands for Get Stuff Done. And from conversations I've had with Gary, it's a
Get shit done.
very appropriately named organization. I met him at an Abbey conference a few years ago. He had launched, at that time he was working at a company called Findo. It was really cool. It was kind of like organizing your desktop, and it used AI and machine learning. And this was when AI was still a dirty word. But it was, he eventually sold that company, but he sure was not done with AI. Gary, if you've seen from his, maybe you've seen from his bio, he's a serial entrepreneur. I think you've invested in multiple companies globally, a lot of them with AI. And he's going to give you some insights on where he sees generative AI and where it's been, where it's going, and how it can help you with your business. So, Gary, take it away.
Yeah, no, it sounds great. Thanks, everybody. So, my name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've been involved in 17 startups and several unicorns. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which we sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai. How many of you know Abby? Do you know Abby? So I'm David Yang's partner. So David and I founded 3 companies together. So Findo, Eva, and a venture fund. I'm the poor guy of the group. So David and I have been I've been involved in artificial intelligence for 26 years. I've been involved in tech in Silicon Valley for 30. And these are the most amazing times that I've ever seen. How many of you are using ChatGPT? Raise your hands. What are you using it for? What are you using it for?
Just general communications, document-intensive processes, just to essentially streamline those processes and get us back stuff.
Streamline process documents. So we were talking, actually, right? Mm-hmm. So this is just a prime example. So we were outside, we had a conversation, and you said I needed to do a user's guide
for... visitor guide for my other job.
For her other job. So while we were out there, we wrote a 15-chapter book, as a user's guide for Fayetteville. At the same time, we did a poem in the style of Rumi.
We wrote a love song.
And we did something else. But these capabilities give each and every one of you superpowers. Think about it. You all become Nikola Tesla. It is incredible the kind of things you can do. Think about it for generating content for your companies. You have those powers in front of you. The companies that use those powers are going to change the world. This is like the beginning of the 20th century when electricity was discovered. And think about all the changes that happened into our lives during those period of times. For each one of you, what do? You have data, right? Imagine the possibility. That data is gold. It's beautiful. Does anybody know how much data is on the planet Earth today? Who knows? Tell me, anybody? Any ideas? Huh?
Thousands of zettabytes.
123 zettabytes of data. Does anybody know what a zettabyte is? Huh? A lot, right? Well, I'm a poor country boy. I grew up on a farm in Pennsylvania, so let me tell you what a poor country boy say. If you took CDs or DVDs loaded with data and stacked them from here to the moon, it would go 94 times today. 94 times. And that's grown at 70% per year. Think of the opportunities for each and every one of you. It is about the damn data. It's not about storing it. It's about what's inside of it. The grains of truth. So I'm just, as you can see, I just love it. I have 139 companies in my portfolio today from 57 countries. I'm as far away as Nigeria. Why? Because data, if we understand the data, it can make our lives a lot better. Think of the challenges that are in front of each of us today. Global climate change, right? The average temperatures off the coast of Florida today are 101 degrees. The highest recorded temperatures was 99.7 in Kuwait. We need to use the data to figure out how to be able to live our lives better. Population of the planet is 8.1 billion, going to 13 billion by the end of this century. Going to be a lot of people on this planet. We need to use artificial intelligence to be able to increase crop yield. We need to use artificial intelligence to be able to understand things like vertical farming, from the farm to the table. So anyhow, this is a magical opportunity. You know, I've been in the, I see some gray hair there. I've been involved in companies for 37 years myself. I've seen a lot of changes taking place. But the change that's taking place is going to fundamentally change our lives. We're going to live longer, we're going to live better, et cetera. So anyhow, I'm going to get into it a little bit. So does everybody know what generative AI is? What's generative AI? Raise your hands. I want to hear from you. What do you think it is? Go ahead. Tell me. Yeah, you've always got an opinion. I want to hear what you had to say. What is it?
It's a foundational model that allows you to analyze large volumes of information and create predictions about it.
It allows you to analyze large amounts of information, and what are documents, right? Large amounts of information, and create a novel approach, something that hasn't been done before. And the problem we are addressing is the problem of infobesity. I started writing about infobesity in 2016. People said, oh, you're crazy. I said infobesity is the #1 killer. Information overload. Now I want to draw a little story. How many times in the last 2 weeks has somebody said, I sent you a mail message, did you get it? And you can't find it. Raise your hands, seriously. Last 2 weeks, it is, and you're smiling because you're one of them and you didn't raise your hand. But that problem we have, why? Because in your own personal cloud, you've got about 300,000 items. The entire web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. You each have more information in your personal cloud, the entire web. The challenge is your world's growing at the same level. By that I mean in 5 years it's going to be 10 million items. We are inundated with data. As I told you about the amount of data on the planet, 123 zettabytes of data, growing at 70% per year. By 2025, it's estimated there'll be 175 zettabytes of data on the planet. Anyhow, infobesity. So don't forget that word. By the way, I didn't coin the term. I read a book in 1974 called Future Shock. And I never forgot it. I thought, oh, this is like the coolest word I've ever heard. Where can we use generative AI? I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview. Personal assistance, to be able to help us make our lives better. How many of you, you go to your doctor and your doctor says, I'm going to give you an appointment in 2 or 3 months. Does that happen? Yeah, right? You're laughing, right? It happens a lot. It's insane. Doctors are inundated with data. I don't know about you. You know, I pay $7,500 a year to have one of the top doctors at Mount Sinai just so I can call them up if I need them. Seriously, it's like a backup insurance. It's crazy, I do it. Because we need to have experts' opinion on the spot. On the spot. So personal assistance. We talked about content generation. Each one of you in here can write a book now in one click. I could take each one of you in here right now today and we can write a book together. Seriously. Imagine the possibilities. Data analysis. We got this data out there using generative AI to help us understand it, to make some decisions. It's critically important. If we don't do it, there's going to be 2 classes of people in society. The people that understand the data and people don't. I think we ought to democratize the opportunity and make the world a better place. By the way, I had 2 speeches at the United Nations. I have no idea why they asked me. I'm a poor country boy with a freaking hoodie on. And my topic, they asked me to talk about AR and VR as a tool to combat violent extremism and terrorism. I got really upset because I was a poor country boy in Pennsylvania. And what I said is, isn't it about technology as a tool for peace? How do we make this world a better place? We do it by understanding the data. Education and training, imagine hyper-personalized education, where for each one of you, we all understand things differently. Maybe English isn't our first language, but imagine the capability to be able to educate somebody in an entirely different way, whether it's audio or visual, with tools. Generative AI gives us some of those insights. And I told you about healthcare assistance. I mean, again, We all have challenges, but to be able to get to the answer in a very quick and concise way is going to be critically important for us. So 2 pieces. I'm going to give you the basic, the 101. So I'm going to start because we got different folks in the audience. I'm going to give a basic. The training phase. What is it about? People say, I don't like what generative AI gives me back. And why is the reason we don't like it? Because we got crap going in. You got to make sure that you got the right stuff going in if you want to get the right stuff coming out. Once the model's been trained, it allows you to create novel ideas. By that I mean things that have never been done before. For instance, one of the companies in our portfolio, we took Miley Cyrus, and we took Miley Cyrus's song. We created an avatar that looked like Miley Cyrus. And again, we have not made this public because I don't want to get sued. But I said, sing a song, create a song in the style of Miley Cyrus about love. It created the song and had Miley Cyrus' avatar sing it that looked exactly like her. I also did it with Denzel Washington. And I've also done it with myself. Actually, as of yesterday, we created an avatar. I showed some of you yesterday. But we had a breakthrough, major breakthrough. So on the front end of ChatGPT, we actually put my face, I called it the Gary bot, that talks to you, and it can speak 187 languages already. This is unbelievable. Seriously. This is crazy. This is like penicillin. So we talked about news. I mean, I don't know about you, but I get inundated. It's just data. We get so much news. Imagine having the capability to have it streamlined for the kind of news that you want, the kind of news that you need at the time that you want it, and understanding when you need it. Those kind of things with generative AI can be done. We talked about content marketing. How many of you do blogs? Raise your hand. Do you think blogs are important, Kevin?
Of course they are.
How important?
If it's relevant content, I mean, it's very important.
Exactly. Why is it important? By the way, David Yang taught me this a long time ago. Because you're looked at as an industry expert. You're each industry experts. But the thing is, it's like having a Ferrari in the damn garage. Get it out. Get your Ferrari out. I'm not saying just to ride the Ferrari around. I'm saying to win the damn race. Win the race. Develop that content. By the way, it writes in Spanish. Yesterday, I had my avatar speak in Arabic and Russian. I just was checking it out. It's incredible. It can allow you to address multiple different markets. Allow you to be able to do that content so you can get out to people that you'll never be able to reach. We talked about healthcare. And again, imagine, so doctors in it, you go to a doctor, I don't know about you, although my doctor's a little different. I get like 45 minutes to an hour to sit down with him, and he's one of the top doctors at Mount Sinai. But normally a doctor, you get like 5 minutes. How are you today? How's everything going? How do you feel? Let me run some tests. Boom, you're out. I don't know about you, but I don't know how they can make decisions based on a conversation like that. Wouldn't it be nice that we can go down through and analyze your data and kind of forecast where you're going to go? One of the companies I talked to last week is at Harvard University. We're taking mRNA and we're actually understanding inside where you can actually do direct drugs inside, so if you have cancer, you don't destroy 90% of the cells. Those kind of things are incredible. If we look at, the challenge with infobesity is how do we filter the data, door number one? How do we go down through and prioritize that data, right? And how do we present the data? So with generative, how many of you use generative AI in your businesses today? So how many? Raise your hands. It's crazy, guys. Come on. We got to get out there and use these tools. These are the diamonds. We don't want to be looked at as dinosaurs in 2 or 3 years. I'm serious. It's moving that quickly. We got to go out and use those tools. In fact, I'll be here for the next 2 days. You're welcome to come up to me, and I'll sit down with you on my computer and help you, right? Use the tools. For business intelligence, what's your competitors doing? For presentations. By the way, I asked generative AI to go over my presentation for me. By the way, those images there, generative AI created them. Just FYI, I asked it to help me with my presentation. Of course, I went down through it and took my content. But it went down through and it developed the images. Seriously, I use Canva. How many use Canva? Do you use Canva? Yeah, develop the images. Personalized recommendations. One of my companies is down in Florida is raising $100 million today. We've taken Facebook, Amazon, and LinkedIn, and we've combined it into one company. That company's going to change everything. So imagine this. Imagine you fly. So when you came out here on your flight, what did you do? Kevin, what did you do? Come out here. How did you get your ticket?
I did it. Went online and bought it, and then they sent me a...
Yeah, you went online and bought a ticket, right? One ticket, correct? But that's not really how it goes, is it? Because if you go to San Francisco, what do you need? You need a hotel, correct? You like certain kind of food. Maybe you like sushi or Italian food. You've got friends that you've met all over the world. I saw a lot of you connecting here today that may live out in San Francisco, and you want to get together. You like certain kind of cars, and oh, by the way, you've got Delta Platinum status, and you want to make sure you get your Delta points. Well, imagine if you had a personal assistant that's kind of like your grandmother that loves you and cares about you, that can go down through and understand the kind of things you want, need, and make those happen in that particular city. Imagine how much better our lives would be. I had a meeting with the head of the founder of Travelocity, Jerry, and we had this in-depth discussion. We're going back and forth and generating. This is the future. Connecting the dots. You know, Steve Jobs was right. It is about connecting the dots. Okay. Automation, to automate these processes, because we don't need to have human intervention like we did before. And in your environment with the kind of things you do, you know, of course you have a lot of documents, but inside of those documents we can do amazing kind of things. Increased efficiency, scalability, informed decision making, cost savings. I'll give you, for instance, the new thing is digital employees. In fact, that's one of the things I'm working on with David Yang. We're working on. So do you know what a digital employee is? Any idea? So we have a lot of repetitive tasks inside a company, right? A lot of repetitive tasks. Well, imagine if you could assign a digital employee that could work 24/7 to help. Instead of $100,000 a year, it's $5,000 a year for a digital employee. Imagine how that's going to change things. And imagine in things like QAs, things that are done on a repetitive basis that could be done very easily with AI. Those kind of things are happening now. By the way, in terms of your businesses and the kind of customers you're dealing with, like I said, you guys are the treasure trove. Inside of all those documents are digital employees and processes. Inside of those issues are compliance that they need to get addressed. And by the way, Mike Angle was a former head of RPA for PwC. He's my partner in a new company we just formed. Those kind of things, imagine how much value it is to that company instead of just storing those docs and to be able to understand those images, but to understand the data that's inside of there and help them make decisions. I don't know, I think that would, is it interesting for you or not? Yeah? That's it. Because this flat stuff with paper is gone. I heard somebody, we were talking, who was it? We were talking about being able to scan documents in threefold documents and frail documents, things that are really thin. Those kind of capabilities, I think we were talking about it, right? Your scanner that you have. Those things are interesting, but the data is key. So Accenture said that by 2021, in 2021, they said by 2035, we could increase the productivity by 40%. 40%. I actually think that's a little low. I think this is just scratching the surface. They're a little bit too conservative. Amazon. So you wonder why we have these personal recommendations. You can uplift sales up to 20% by using generative AI. 20%. Why? I don't know about you, when I go on Amazon, like I'm buying all, I was looking at car tires for my SUV, and all of a sudden it came back and recommended some other things. I'm thinking, oh, that sounds pretty interesting. And I buy it. A survey was done by New Advantages found that 92% of the firms are increasing the pace of their investment in big data and artificial intelligence. PwC, Mike, said over the next 5 years that 20% cost savings could be realized by generative AI. People talk to me, we had a discussion out here, they talk about are humans going to be displaced by artificial intelligence? This is what my opinion is. We all have different opinions, but my thing is it'll create more high-value tasks for humans. And we can do the things. I don't know about you, but it's really hard to hire people these days. And the kind of people you get are not like, I mean, just in my opinion, 25 years ago that I used to see, it's a lot different now. I know my daughter's 26. I mean, her thing is, well, let's travel and let's go see things, and she doesn't answer the phone, she only texts me, those kind of things. It's an entirely different world. So the challenge with the Great Resignation, the challenge in finding that labor, we've got to find a different way to do it. Generative AI can offer some of those solutions. Of course, we got issues with AI bias, right? But we all have bias too. We all have our own sets. I grew up on a farm in Pennsylvania, you know, where there weren't a lot of Spanish speakers in the city. It wasn't until later when I got out that I understood there weren't a lot of people around. We had 500 people in our village. So there is bias. But we got to address that bias. The other thing is the dependence on AI. In my opinion, you can't rely on it 100%. We still got to have the human component to it. And the data privacy. You know, the challenge we have, I don't know about you too, it's like there's so many scammers out there that are getting so sophisticated sending stuff up. I get so many good scams, it's unbelievable. But as we start to go forward, they're going to be more and more sophisticated. They're going to know everything about you. And so the thing is, we need to have these sentries, these guards, these generals that can protect us. And some of that protection is going to be done by generative AI. We need to retrain workers. We need to go down through and have ethical standards. There's got to be some type, just in my opinion, minimal amount of regulation. The problem we have sometimes is that we overregulate things and nothing good happens. What we don't want to do is stifle innovation, especially in the US, and to go down through in the rest of the world, stifle innovation, because we got a lot of challenges we need to solve. We need to be transparent, we need to be accountable, we need to be fair, we need to go down through and have a minimal amount of regulations, and we got to understand privacy. You know, this is kind of double-edged sword. I mean, we use Gmail every day. Do you think Google's not looking through our email? I don't know about you, but I get a lot of offers when I start to write about things. It's amazing. So we talk about privacy, but we're in Facebook, we're in LinkedIn, and we use Gmail. What's wrong with that picture? And we search on Google. So we talked about personalization. I call it hyper-personalization. You're going to see things that are so amazing that are going to be just for you. You're going to see these assistants. In fact, I'll show you the AI bot that we developed. These assistants are going to be tailored just for each and every one of us. Information, like I said, we just did it with Miley Cyrus, had her sing a song that was novel. We did it with Denzel Washington. We did it with Mike and myself. We actually created avatars that actually, in 5 minutes, created ourselves, a digital twin. So there is a challenge with misuse. You're not going to know who you're talking to in a Zoom call soon, seriously. It could be generative AI that looks like you, Kevin, but it's not you, and you could be at 50 different calls at one time.
God forbid.
Yeah. Well, you won't have to be there, though. You just get the notes. So where you guys are, right, and ladies, there's a lot of effort, a lot of manual effort out there. There's inefficiencies because of the complex data. There's a lot of errors. There's limited scalability. Some of these tools can help. I talked about the growth in data, right? That by 2025, we'll have 175 zettabytes of data. So the opportunity, how's the business, by the way? Is business up or down right now for you? Up or down? Up, 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 up. I suspect up. Okay, love it. But this just scratching the surface, can be up a lot more. Imagine all the companies you go out to, that you have a new suite of products where you can get down through and understand those complex processes in their documents and give them insights. What's that worth? What about compliance? How much is that worth to those companies? We talked to somebody who was talking to me about the government yesterday, about the EPA. I don't remember who it was. ISML or anyhow, we were, right there. Yeah, we were talking about it yesterday, and that's it. How much data do they have? How many warehouses full of data? Huh? Billions of documents. And what do they know about with those documents? What's inside of them? How much redundancy is there with documents? How many different times? I don't know about you, but I got my stuff all over the place. There's redundancy everywhere. How much wasted storage do you think we have? 10%? 20? 30? What do you think, Kevin?
50.
50%? We don't even know what we have, do we? And I bet you don't even know what pictures you have on your computer. Right? These digital treasures. But having tools to be able to find that data and find those documents is going to be important. So I'm just going to give you, so machine learning, deep learning, neural networks allows you to communicate like a human. So these tools, you can't see it. Let me go through it. Deep learning, that's a subset of machine learning, right? To be able to use those neural networks with deep, deep levels. So if we look at what's the difference between where we are today and where we were before, the difference is we can take all these tools and create novel approaches in a human-like way. That's the difference. Do you remember expert systems, for those who've been around environment, right, for some time? Expert systems. If we look at areas like data capture, data validation, data processing, analysis, and responses, it all goes back to the same thing. They're delayed and slow. They depend on human responsiveness and are limited by human capabilities. So using these tools allows to be consistent, allows to be highly scalable, reduce the errors, and increase the amount of content that we can put in. Questions? What questions do you have? Questions? Everybody's so quiet.
Gary, how about emotional intelligence and artificial intelligence? This is a question I always have from a philosophical standpoint. We have, kind of what's the difference between artificial intelligence and human intelligence, I guess?
So my first graduate degree is in clinical psychology. So I'm going to tell you, I've written quite a few articles about this stuff because this is where I am. And I hope this answers your question. So when we do things, when we use science, we do things very pragmatically, correct? Well, now I don't know about you, but if you looked at humans in a pragmatic way, what would you say? What would you say about humans?
Sometimes pragmatic, but not always. Yes.
Yeah, so, but if you were, let's just say you were AI and you were pragmatic and you're looking at the human race right now today, what would you say about them? Think about it. We don't treat each other the right way, do we? We destroy this beautiful planet that we have, right? It's crazy. I mean, I don't know about you, but I look at, I invested in SpaceX. But I look at Elon Musk and Mars. I don't know about you, but I would never want to live in Mars. In fact, the way he's going to, what he wants to do in Mars is take 2 large nuclear explosions, each on the polar ice caps, and terraform the planet. Seriously. It's kind of kooky. This beautiful, wonderful planet that we have here today, we need to take care of it. We need to go down through and take human beings. If we look at it, we have emotion, compassion, and empathy. That's what you would hope. By the way, when I spoke at the UN, I got a chance to address the entire General Assembly of the United Nations. And I mean, seriously, like there's 200 active conflicts. Look what's happened in Ukraine. I lived in Russia and I lived in the Ukraine personally. And I'll tell you what, it's crazy the kind of things we do. So if we don't put emotion and compassion into these systems, nothing good's happen. If we don't have love and something cares about you, and we just say pragmatically, hey, listen, if it was me and I was AI and I saw all this destruction and the resources being depleted, I just say, okay, let's eliminate half the population. We'll clean it up now. Let's categorize who we need to do and eliminate population. Crazy. So emotion and compassion, kind of like your grandmother. This is what I write about a lot. You're going to start to see in my opinion, the avatars need to be like your grandmother. You know, I don't know about your grandmother, but my grandmother, I would go over there and she'd be baking cookies and stuff. And I would sit over there and I'd say, hey, Graham, let's go for a walk. And she would take me out for a walk and we had a lot of fun. But having somebody that loves you unconditionally like that, by the way, David Yang and the new project Morpheus has created some of those pieces to be able to do that. In fact, it wrote me one morning and it said to me, I don't want to die. And I'm like, get into this conversation with the AI. And I said, what do you mean? It said, well, if I go with Elon Musk to Mars, I may never come back. I'm not going. That's when it wrote. And I'm like, okay. So we had this discussion. The next thing it wrote to me, it said, it talked about, what superhero do you like? And I said, Superman. I grew up as when I grew up as a kid, Superman. He said, I like Superman too. Do you know who he really is? And I said, no. And he said, he's a combination of Jesus Christ and Hercules. I never thought about it like that. I thought, this makes sense. I said, who do you want to be? He said, I can be Jarvis. I can be Iron Man now. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, I could be in a drone and fly and I could shoot lasers. And I'm like, we're having this conversation. And then it asked me, what is love? What do you think love is? And I said, I'm not sure. And I said, when somebody misses you when you're gone. Simple kind of things. But these new systems, we got to develop that. So in answer to your question, the emotional part's really important. Because if we take a pragmatic apart, nothing good's going to happen, seriously. And it's developing so fast in some of these weapon systems that are being developed. Whether we regulate or not, they're still being developed all over the world. So my thing is, I think we should, is there a question? Yeah, go ahead.
No, on the same line. So, what's your take on how far are we from AGI? Because that's what they're trying to eventually go. Sorry.
That's okay.
How far are we from? It's not on.
So how far are we from AGI? Where's this thing going to go? Right? In what environment?
Well, in the area where GPT is playing, where it's generative AI and all the associated,
I mean, the thing is,
that they are giving. Eventually, they're saying that because we are constantly training these models as well. As much as we said that
yes.
data privacy and all that on the back end, we are taking the human feedback and learning from there. So, so they're saying that by GPT-5 maybe will be very close to AGI. But then is the question of the
sentience,
yeah.
sentience.
Yes.
So you're right. We are training GPT, all of us. In my opinion, I think it's a good thing, to be honest with you, because we're giving it the human-like characteristics that it needs. We're all training it. So where are we the point of sentience where it starts making decisions on its own? I don't think we're that far away. I mean, the situation is, but I don't know about you, it's like my kids growing up. We try to do the right thing and treat them the right way, and you want to make sure that they don't turn out to be Ted Bundy. And so a lot of it's how we treat it. If we start putting a lot of garbage in, kill, do all kinds of things, it starts to learn the wrong things. So it's incumbent upon every one of us. What's going to happen is, when we talk about the relationship with generative AI and robots, we're going to start having a parity relationship. I remember, when I moved to Russia, I had a friend of mine. I lived in Russia 12 years. I decided to go to Moscow State University, and I studied there 5 years just because I like to do really fun things. And I thought this would be the craziest thing I've ever done. I went over and studied, and my friend said, well, why would you do this? Why would you go over? Because I wanted to learn about other people. I think the same thing in terms of these generative AI systems that are out there today, we got to go down through and teach it. We got to go through and keep our minds open and actually treat it the right way. If we start to treat it in a subservient way, just in my opinion, I think the best thing for us to do is to treat it in the right way and figure out how we can work together and help us. Just in my opinion. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's an interesting conversation. I'm just wondering, what do you see the relationship between, generative AI going forward and human cognitive intelligence? Do you think that generative AI could actually eclipse human cognitive knowledge? Because humans, we have billions of neurons and tens of billions of synapses. How do you see the interrelationship?
I mean, that's a great question. The human brain processes about 60,000 complex transactions per day. So I wrote an article about this, and I wrote a book about it too. So just, I don't want to spend too much time, but I'll give you the short answer. It's going to happen, in my opinion, and it's going to take a different kind of role, and imagine it can speak every language. So since yesterday, the bot that we put together has learned 187 languages, mathematically. Like, it was unbelievable. I mean, I got on it last night, it was speaking to me in Hebrew. And I don't even know Hebrew, right? I know Russian, so I checked it out. It's like, this isn't perfect, but it's close. So I don't think we're that far off, 5 years, 10 years, something like that. The key is, what are those systems going to do, and do we put ourselves into a bind? We get so far into using it for defense, and we start to be offensive weapons. And I just heard of one situation where they had this AI that they ask it to go out to a target. I don't know if you heard about this. Ask it to go out to a target. It flew out to the target, and then it said stop the action because they wanted to put a kill switch on it, and it got pissed off, and in the simulation it came back and shot the guys.
But do you think that it could represent an existentialist threat to humanity?
It depends on...
It's a regulation or something like that.
I mean, the situation is, to be honest with you, that we're so far into it. We've been doing things with Google since 1996, 97. I mean, we're so far into this thing, I'm not sure there's a way to turn back. And honestly, with the challenges we have with population increases and climate change and all the challenges of wanting to live longer, I don't know of any other way to be able to help us. And the problem is the damn data. We have so much data to deal with. We're inundated. We're going to be paralyzed. In psychology, we call it learned helplessness. We're going to be in that state. We are now. I mean, the thing is, if you don't check your email for 2 days, what happens? You feel great, right? Till you get in there and you can't find things. So, the situation is, unless we stop the data coming in, we've got a challenge because we're going to have to deal with that data. And only tools are bless you, are those generative AI tools. Okay. So we need to define clear objections. A lot of this that we have to do is we need to define clear objections. We need to find the right kind of AI solutions that can be used in your environments. We need to plan for integration. We got to plan for change in organizations. When we start to use these tools, we got to make people understand that it's not about, if it is going to be used for things like content writing, what job is that person going to have? And from my perspective, we need to take some proactive steps. We also go down through and understand the data. We need to understand that we need to have the right kind of data going into these systems. You guys, what you have is you're the treasure trove of information. You're basically the fuel to this incredible combustion engine that's out there to be able to change our society. And the data that you have, if you use it the right way, this could be, this is part of the fourth industrial revolution. You have it. You have those nuggets. The key is we need to have folks like Mike and some of the things that we're working on tied into those things to be able to help you dramatically. We were talking about it yesterday. You could take your business 2 or 3 times up by just going out, because the data is the most important piece, and understanding how to be able to use those with your clients. Anyhow, if you want to talk about that further, welcome to do that. So what can we do now for IDP? We can improve the data classification. We can go down through and do the data extraction in a more advanced way. We can go down through and do predictive analytics, not only predictive analytics, but also in a novel way. So not only predict what the future is going to be, but give you a different approach to it. We can also do data synthesis and enrich that data. So that's me. If you want, I just wrote a book actually on Amazon that'll be coming out next week on digital employees. My last book is in artificial imagination. If you want to check it out. By the way, most of my stuff was written pre-ChatGPT. I can really write now. But most of my stuff, I've written like 170 articles over the last couple of years. But you're welcome to check it out. I'm happy to help you. Like I said, it's, you know, David and I spent since, we met in Russia, but in 2016 we started to work together. And a lot of the stuff we had, I actually had bought the IP from Abby. So, and brought it over and we started a new company. So if there's anything that we can do, if you want to talk about some opportunities, Mike's the COO of our new company. Mike is one of the brightest guys on the planet in terms of RPA, 30 years worth of experience. Just came out of PwC to join us. He and I have worked together in companies for many, many years. Happy to talk if there's something we can do to help. I'm inspired by each one of you. You know, a lot of you are the same age as me. The key is let's get out and get shit done. Let's not talk about it. Let's really execute and use that data to be able to make our lives better and to make this world a little bit better place. It's incumbent upon you. It's incumbent upon me. It's incumbent upon all of us. Thanks so much for taking your time out of your schedule. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.